Wrestling fans! Yes, it's me, Sir HEAD, back with another video. That's right, another special video. You know why? Because I wanted to do one. This now, September 12th, as I'm recording this right now, and you may think I look knackered a little bit. You're right, because I just come in from work, working the Middlesbrough match today with the MK Dons. And you know what? While I'm doing this video for you guys, you know what? I'm going to turn it into Stone Cold Steve Austin. I'm going to have a beer. Drinking man for the working man, baby. Best beer in the world. Anyway. Shout out to you guys on that one. Today's video, the topic today, something I came up with in my head, because I've been a wrestling fan all my life. A very tough decision, but I came up with a list of my top 10 favourite Intercontinental champions. Now, and this is going back to when I was watching it back in the early days. Now, you're probably thinking to yourself, everybody has an opinion of who's their best Intercontinental champion. Now, we'll have to wait and see if you agree on it or disagree, but we'll see anyway. Let's see how this turns out. In any particular order, I'm going to go with my first pick, and I'm going to go with Razor Ramon. Many of you people know him as Scott Hall. Now, just a guy who came in as a bad guy, you know, the bad guy thing and everything, and kind of awkward the way he got the belt first. I believe the very first title reign the very first time he won the belt was off Shane Douglas, when he was Dean Douglas. I might be wrong on that. But I also remember the Battle Royal they had on Raw. The Battle Royal that they had on Raw. And then the following week on Raw, they had a match to the last two of the Battle Royal, which was Martel and Razor, fought for the Intercontinental Championship. But I'm pretty sure I am right, and I'm pretty sure the Dean Douglas thing was the first time he won it. This a bullshit angle. Shawn Michaels had to forfeit the belt due to injury, or whatever you guys see it, and WWE basically screwing over Dean Douglas, quite frankly, because they gave him the belt, and then he jobbed out to Razor, and it's understandable the reason why Shane Douglas at one point in his career in ECW called the IC title the Intercontinental I Give a Fuck title belt. Yeah, you go figure. But 4-time Intercontinental champion, great champion, had, you know, matches, you know, one off the thing. He had a great match with Shawn at WrestleMania 10. In the ladder match, they had it again the following at SummerSlam. And he had a match with Jeff Jarrett as well for it. He had a bit of a feud with Jarrett over it as well. All in all, a great champion and one of the all-time greats. Love Scott Hall. My other pick is Shawn Michaels. I believe a three-time Intercontinental champion, if I'm correct. Beat Jeff Jarrett for it. Who else did he beat? He beat Bulldog to win it the first time around. He beat Jarrett to win it again. I can't remember who he beat for the third time. Who he beat for the third reign. I don't know who it was. But he was a 3-time champion. And obviously that eventually ended up catapulting him to the WWF title. Not that I think that he needed it anyway, because if I remember correctly, it was him and Diesel at WrestleMania 11, and I think later on in the year he ended up winning the Intercontinental Championship because they had the belt on Diesel. But all in all, Intercontinental champion, and how could you not have Shawn Michaels in the picture, so to speak? And like I say, innovator of the ladder match, him and Razor Ramon. He got stripped. Razor came back. He was the champion. Michaels still thinks he was the champion. Boom, 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 boom. WrestleMania 10 ladder match. All in all, 2 great champions kicked off. Now, I'm going to go a little further down. Shelton Benjirmin was one of my favourite Intercontinental champions. Why? Because when he was the champion, it felt like a workhorse title again. Back in the old days, in about 1990, maybe 91 time, or maybe 91, 92 time, whatever you see fit. The Intercontinental Champion was known as the Workhorse Champion. If you had to be, if I can steal a phrase from Kurt Hennig, perfect. You had to be a great wrestler to be a champion. To be the Intercontinental Champion, you had basically, if I can steal a phrase from Mr. Perfect, you had to be perfect, a perfect champion. More on Mr. Perfect later. But yeah, Shelton Benjirmin did feel like it was a workhorse championship. Round about the reign when he wrestled at Survivor Series, and I believe it was 04 when he wrestled Christian. Round about that time, when he had his mama involved and the big mama thing. Although he's still a great wrestler, but having his big mama around kind of took the edge off it for me. But round about that time, because that was a great match, him and Christian, and and Shelton Benjirmin would be my top 10 never to get a push for the World Championship, because I think he deserved it, to be honest. But still, a great champion nonetheless. Now, William Regal as well. Although his reign was a little bit short, it was always physical. And plus, he ended the reign of Santino Marella. And how can you not like William Regal? I mean, after everything he's done for the company and everything, he never got a WWE title push. Or a title run with it, at least. Great champion. And he eventually lost it to CM Punk. But the problem was, anytime you get in the ring, and it's still to this very day, I mean, when he wrestled on NXT and fought in the past, his title run, he'd losing it to Chris Jericho at one point as well. At WrestleMania 17, more on Jericho later. I mean, it was just great. Great. You always knew it was a physical match. If you were a wrestler and you step in the ring with William Regal, you knew it was going to be a physical match. And if you want that Intercontinental Championship, when he had it at the time, just like with the European title as well, you had to take it. You had to basically, you were in for a war, and he would make you earn it if you were going to beat him. All in all, a great champion, and it is a crying shame that he never got a push for the WWE title. It is truly a crying shame. Now, we've had Shawn Michaels, William Regal, Shelton Benjirmin, Razor Ramon, and we'll go on to the big boys now. And I'm going to kick off with The Rock. Now, you're probably thinking to yourself, when was Rock Intercontinental Champion? Back in the days when he was leader of the nation, or ruler of the nation, as he put it. I believe, and I still believe to this very day, when he first came in, he was getting booed out the building. Rocky sucks chants, that hairstyle he had, Rocky Maivia gimmick, did not work one bit. And then they realised that, and he took some time off or something, came back just as a referee, and basically joined the nation on Raw. And then it just went on from there. He won the Intercontinental Championship. I think the first time around when he was Rocky Maivia, I don't think they took it seriously. I don't think they really took it that seriously. Yes, he beat Triple H, and he ended up defending the Intercontinental Championship at WrestleMania 13 against his cousin Rikishi, who was the Sultan at the time. But I don't think they took that seriously. But when he eventually ended up winning the Intercontinental Championship again, and you know what? I can't remember who he won it from. I can't remember who he beat for it. He got it from Austin. Yeah, because Austin forfeited it into D-Generation X in your house. After it, the DX in your house in '97, Austin forfeited it, and that was the start of Rock's, long title reign. And he had matches with Ken Shamrock, going in to eventually him losing it, and he even had a match with Farouk for it. and eventually going into him losing it to Triple H at SummerSlam 98. So basically, he had half the year of 98, and that's what put him on the map that year. You know, taking it from Austin after he forfeited it after D-Generation X in Your House, because Austin was going to get the push for the WWF title. And then, you know, Rock taking the ball, so to speak, and carrying it away from that point on. And that basically put Rock on the map. Not just the fact that he was the leader of the rule of the nation, as he put it. That title run, in my opinion, put Rock on the map. Because he was a great champion there as well. There's no question about it. And he's still a great champion to this very day. 7-time WWE champion. Well, maybe 8-time now, I don't know. But a great champion nonetheless. And that era from after DX in Your House to SummerSlam 98, that's what put him on the map. Although he probably should have lost it at WrestleMania 14 to Ken Shamrock, but Ken Shamrock snapping cost him the match. Excusez-moi. Apologies. But I've earned that the day after what I went through the day. Yeah, I've definitely earned that beer. Anyway, enough about beer, back to wrestling. And my next pick is Owen Hart. Now, it is a crying shame that this guy did not become WWE champion or go for the WWE title, because he basically won every single belt that WWE had to offer at that time in his era, except for the Hardcore title. You know, Hardcore champion aside, he wasn't really made for that division. But he was, you know, he was like the workhorse of the Hart Foundation. And to think he never became WWE champion. Although I did hear at one point that the match he had with Bret at SummerSlam 94, that cage match, he was supposed to go into that match as champion. I wonder why that didn't work out. But, yeah, great European champion, had a great feud with Triple H, and Hale had a great feud with Triple H all the way through. Had an awesome feud with Austin over the Intercontinental Championship, beat Farouk in the tournament. Hell, he even ended Rock's first reign. Yeah, that's who Rock ended up losing it to. He beat Rock for the Intercontinental Championship and ended the first reign of The Rock. All in all, just a great wrestler, and it's a crying shame to this very day. You know, wrestling in peace and that, but it's a crying shame to this very day he's not in the Hall of Fame, and it's an absolute crying shame that he didn't become WWE champion, because, well, he deserved it. Right. Next pick is Chris Jericho. 9-time Intercontinental champion. What more can you say? Current record holder of the Intercontinental champion as far as how many times he's held it. You know, what more can you say? He's the best in the world at what he does, and it was always a wrestling match with or a wrestling style. He always made it like a workhorse champion as well. You know, he had great matches along the way. He won it off Regal at one point. I think he even beat Rey Mysterio for it. I don't know. I can't remember who else he beat. Although he won it 9 times, and he has to go down as one of the greatest, or one of, if not the greatest Intercontinental champions of all time. Because 9 times is a lot of times to get it, and you know, kudos to Mr. Jericho. And it was always fun to watch him as an Intercontinental champion. Quite frankly, it was always fun to watch Chris Jericho full stop. Quite frankly, because like I say, he was good. Whether you hate him as a heel, whether you liked him as a babyface, Y2J stuff and all that, you know, he was good. Now, the next pick after that is Ravishing Rick Rude. Loved this Intercontinental Championship reign. Now, I didn't start watching, although I did watch it. I did watch it from 1991 at the most, and I tried. You know, I ended up watching it from the early days and tried to watch it when his run was there, because he won it at WrestleMania 5. and lost it to the Warrior at SummerSlam 89. But quite frankly, anything Rick Rude does is good, because he was the ultimate heel back in the day. Great wrestler. Pretty piss poor that they didn't pull the plug on him, or pull the trigger, if you will, on him becoming WWE champion. You know, pretty lackluster in WWE's respects, but just phenomenal to watch in the ring. And again, he made it a workhorse title. You know, he made it a wrestling title, which as it was back then. And just phenomenal, awesome wrestler. Probably, arguably, and I'm not arguing this point, probably one of the best, if not the best heel to ever grace professional wrestling. Because he has been babyface. I think the only time he was cheered was in ECW, if I remember. I don't think he ever got cheered in WCW or WWE during his time. But he could make people hate him like that. You know, he had that psychology of making people hate him. That's why people hated him when he was with Heenan back in the day. And people didn't even like him that much when Heenan held the Warrior's leg for him to win the championship in the first place. But great wrestler, and one of the all-time greats. To shame they never pulled the plug on him or pulled the trigger to be WWE champion. Again, credit to WCW for pulling that trigger, but that's for another video. Now for the final two, we'll go with my final pick, my penultimate pick, if you will, Mr. Perfect. Now, if there's any guy that made this belt a workhorse championship and made it a wrestling belt, as it was supposedly was back in the day, it was Mr. Perfect. You know, great matches. Perfect was a good athlete, great wrestler. He was just good. And he was the perfect fit for the belt of what the standard of an Intercontinental champion should be. I mean, just phenomenal. Unbelievable to watch. And you know what? I'll mention my other one as well, because he's actually involved in one of my favourite moments. And the other one was Bret Hart. And one of my favourite matches was at 91 SummerSlam, which was my very first ever WWE pay-per-view, or wrestling pay-per-view in general. And they had that match, which turned out that Perfect had that back injury. 1991 SummerSlam at the Garden, and these two stole the show. And today it still gets talked about as one of the all-time greats in matches, even though Bret's not very, very particular fond of it, from what I got on the DVD, even though he's had plenty of matches but with Perfect. But that was just awesome. Great match. Hey, it stole the show in 91 SummerSlam. And that was one of my favourite moments. And hell, when Perfect ended up losing the championship to Bret did exactly the same thing. You know, he worked the fuck out of that belt as well. You know, he put the more prestige to that belt. Kind of an awkward way of losing it the first time around, because he lost it to the Mountie because he was ill, apparently, and couldn't go. So 2 nights before the Rumble, January 17th, they had him drop the title to the Mountie, only for the Mountie to drop to Piper 2 days later, even though he lost by submission. And then all of that led into the incredible match at WrestleMania 8 with him and Piper, Bret and Piper, and Bret got it back. And then Bret lost it again in probably one of the greatest matches in SummerSlam's history, and that's Bulldog and Bret at SummerSlam 92 at Wembley Stadium. All in all, 2 awesome champions in Bret, and although it's a shame it didn't work out, or it didn't happen for Perfect, because Perfect should have went for the WWE title, and he did have some title shots on the occasion, but they should have pulled the plug on him. I mean, he already proven he was a world champion, although WWE probably don't consider that because he was AWA champion, Kurt Hennig. But hey, what it didn't work for Perfect, it worked for Bret, because Bret used that to get to the WWE title, because he lost the belt 92 at SummerSlam, and then I think it was a couple of months later in Saskatoon he beat Ric Flair to become WWE Champion for the first time. And the first of, I believe, was 5 title reigns. And, it just went on from there. Honourable mentions. I've got a few honourable mentions down here. Triple H. Gotta give the guy his due as Intercontinental Champion. He was a great champion, even back when he was the Hunter Hearst Helmsley gimmick. And feuding with Mark Merrill as well. Yes, I'll put him down, because if I don't, I'll probably get heat for it. Chris Benoit. Great technical wrestler, and probably one of the great champions. Probably one of the great champions of the Intercontinental division, despite the fact WWE don't even use him anymore, or mention his name anymore, supposedly. Even though they still show his matches on the network. Go figure, WWE. Edge, probably one of the greatest of all time, greatest wrestlers of all time, and he was a damn good Intercontinental Champion. And one of my favourite moments of Edge's Intercontinental Championship situation was he beat Lance Storm in 2001 SummerSlam, which was on my birthday, and which was pretty cool, even though the Alliance angle sucked. But and honourable mention as well, Jeff Jarrett. I mentioned him earlier on. Edge beat Jeff Jarrett to become Intercontinental Champion. And, I think, if I'm not mistaken, Jeff Jarrett was a 6-time champion. Somewhere around about that as well. So he did extremely well as the Intercontinental Champion back when he was Double J and the country music dude. And he had Rhodey, who's now the Road Dogg. And then went to WCW, became US champion in there, and then came back to WWE, and now still used the Intercontinental Championship to get the stepping stone. Shame he didn't get the WWE title, I thought. But then again, he wasn't the chosen one in WWE like he was in WCW. Another honourable mention, Jeff Hardy. He had some good runs with it. No doubt, and Jeff Hardy's always been the crazy son of a bitch of professional wrestling, and I still call him that to this very day. Rob Van Dam. That's right, the whole fucking show. Won his first Intercontinental Championship by beating William Regal at WrestleMania 18, in fact. And carried the belt with, grace, and made it the workhorse title. Can't remember who he lost it to. I don't remember who he lost it to, but he was a great champion in the last. But he had a great feud. He had a great feud on Raw over the belt with Eddie Guerrero as well. Great feud, that era. I believe it was 2002, when the the draft lottery first started. The brand extension, if you will. He had an excellent feud. Him and Eddie Guerrero, speaking of Eddie, he's also one of my honourable mentions, but him and Eddie had a great ladder match on Raw, which was ruined by fan, but, all the build-up and everything, but it was still great. Started some great matches over that belt. And like I say, Eddie Guerrero, how could you not mention him? Ken Shamrock beat X-Pac in the tournament when Triple H had to forfeit it due to an injury. And he beat X-Pac in the tournament finals and carried the championship from there. I believe he carried it all the way till, I believe it was Valentine's Day Massacre. Well, Val Venus beat him. Yeah, I believe it, but Val Venus only had it for about a month at the most, if I remember correctly, and I believe he lost it at Mania 15. I might be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure he only had it for a month. He lost it at Mania 15 in the Fatal 4-Way, which had Road Dogg, Val Venus, Ken Shamrock, and Goldust, if I remember correctly. But yeah, Ken Shamrock, a workhorse champion in his own right, and he was good back in 98. He was really good. But 98, 99 time at least. And the other one, honourable mention, that I'll mention, besides there's a lot more great Intercontinental champions out there, but the last honourable mention was Kurt Angle. Now, the reason why I mentioned him, because not only was he a great wrestler, he was the Intercontinental champion. Who the hell did he beat for it? Oh, he beat Chris Jericho for it. And he was the very first, from my knowledge, the very first Eurocontinental champion, because he had the European title too. And I believe the very first person to hold them belts simultaneously. But all in all, again, that catapulted him to the WWE title eventually, which he won at No Mercy by beating The Rock. And I believe it was that very same year, 2000. So, again, Rock, Bret, it's amazing what the Intercontinental Championship can do to a wrestler if they get booked and used right. Because it can catapult you to the WWE Championship, or the World Championship, or whatever championship it is. Nowadays, it doesn't have that feel. It doesn't have that feel anymore, to my knowledge. Even though there's people even though WWE at the moment is trying to put prestige on it with Ryback. Yes, it's a perfect one, but they tried it with Daniel Bryan. Just like they did with John Cena and the US title. They're trying to bring prestige back to that belt, and boy, did that belt need it. I think they're trying to do the same thing, at least at the moment, with the Intercontinental Championship. They're just having a very bad time doing it. Because they tried to put they put the belt on Bryan at WrestleMania. He got injured. So, that's the Intercontinental Championship, and those were my favourite championships, or my favourite champions. Who are your, if you've seen this video right now, who are your champions? Put your comments in the description below. And until next time, guys, I will be catching you later. I will be check out Monday on this channel. Subscribe if you like the video. I'd be greatly appreciated. Like if you like the video as well. Spread the Wrestling Matters channel out there, because wrestling matters on this channel, baby. And hopefully in the near future, I'll be doing some live streaming. So as far as wrestling content of what I want to bring you, I've done this now today. Who knows, the next one I do, maybe live streamed. So we'll have to wait and see. This is recorded on September 12th rather, 2015. And it will go out tomorrow, September 13th, on Sunday. Around about Sunday afternoon UK time. So, like I say, guys, subscribe to the channel if you want to see it. And until next time, guys, I'm going to finish this beer off. Tune in Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday for the Wrestling Matters, Progress Wrestling, and ICW podcast. None in that particular order. Rearrange the ICW and Progress Wrestling. And by the way, big thank you to you guys for liking the Progress Wrestling one. It got 6 likes, the last episode. Which was very surprising to me, because I never thought that would happen. So whatever I did on that worked, and it seems that the no commercial break routine that I tried out on the ICW episode and the Progress Wrestling one worked. So I think I'll be doing that again this week. So, like I say, tune in Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday for the Progress Wrestling, ICW, and Wrestling Matters podcast this week. And until next time, guys, cheers, enjoy the rest of the weekend, and I'll see you soon. Peace out.